you ready? It's the Roundtable with me, Robert Bannon.
Well, welcome to the Roundtable, everybody. My name is Robert Bannon. You're listening to some Broadway World or over here on the Broadway Podcast Network. And one of our favorite things is to discover new amazing artists who are out here writing songs and putting out music and playing in New Orleans. I've never been to New Orleans, ever. Why have I not been? And I love music so much. I want to go, Steve Kelly, I want to come to New Orleans and see one of your gigs. That's what I'm going to do. We're talking about the album Here's the Thing, which is now streaming, and you could be listening to it. You can follow our guest today right here on Instagram at Nola S. Kelly. So we stay up to date. Steve, I want to hear everything about the whole entire process. Welcome to the Roundtable.
Oh, thanks, man. So thanks so much for having me. I appreciate you.
Can I eat? I could eat my face off there, can I?
Man, I tell you what, come on down whenever you're ready. It is definitely a town that makes it really easy to have a snack.
Okay, and listen to some music, and I'm sure have a drink.
Yep, couple, you know.
I've never even had a hurricane. Come on, I have a lot to do.
Well, all right, look, I'm going to shoot you straight. You're not really missing out a ton on the hurricane. I mean, like the hurricane, okay, like a classic hurricane, like done well with like, you know, good rum and that kind of, like, that's great. But there are just some very like sugary versions that will like leave you hurt more than anything else. I wouldn't wish that on anybody.
It's a tourist trap thing now, I'm sure. I know you're a real Norlin. Is that how you say it? What do you say?
New Orleanian.
Well, I'm in Detroit right now, and they're called Detroiters. And you are a New Orleanian.
Yeah.
But in my heart,
we've got some Detroiters down here. A buddy of mine, R.A. Tidal, phenomenal guitar player from Detroit originally.
Yeah, we know how to make some music. And I'm from Jersey in real life.
Cool.
So we're all over the country. But you know what we all have in common, Steve? You make music. So tell me, when did you first decide to, like, when were you like, I'm a musician in my body? That's my life.
Oh man, you know, that's funny. I think somewhere I always knew I was definitely older than I should have been before I got comfortable with it. It was just like, all right, well, this is it. You know, I definitely have tried to quit music several times, you know, whether it was like in high school and you know, being in like a super competitive music program with, you know, that's the kind of thing that'll kind of burn you out, or you know, that sort of thing. And then, you know, going through the ups and downs of trying to navigate the music industry as an artist and a musician is it can be daunting, to say the least. But yeah, I think that, you know, I've been musical since a young age, man. If it makes sound, I like to do something with it. I like to play with it and figure it out. And you know, but honestly, it's this new record, Here's the Thing, is kind of my statement. Oh, thank you. Look at that artwork. This is kind of my defining statement of like, yeah, this is I'm here to stay. This is what I'm here to do, and you know, this is what I'm about.
And I love that. And I was reading your press release, and you've like traveled the world. Like you literally, I don't know, backpacked it up, traveled the world, got a whole bunch of inspiration. And you talk about going through tough times, natural disasters, pandemics, personal woes, and all the things that we all can go through, and some things that not all of us can go through, and how you cultivated that into this album. So what has that journey been like for you?
You know, I'd be lying if I said it was all sunshine and roses. You know, it's been life. You know, it's ups, downs, all arounds, strikes and gutters, and you know, but it's I wouldn't trade it for anything. It's really been a very meaningful journey, and reflection makes it a lot easier too. Looking back, at the time, there were things that seemed like my life was,
Yeah.
Was never going to recover, or, I was never going to be able to bounce back from X, Y, or Z or whatever. And then now you get the perspective of like, oh, that actually made me a stronger person because of X, Y, or Z. And yeah, it's been a ride, man.
Well, listen, peeps, you'll hear inspiration from all over the world on his album, and his messages are going to be universal, that people can understand what you're talking about in each and every one of those songs. When you talk about traveling and being inspired, like, you didn't just travel to like Florida, like you went to like Bali.
Yeah, no, I had a bit of it was one of those times where the universe was kind of suggesting, hey, look, maybe this whole music thing isn't for you. Maybe you should, do something else. And I needed to get some perspective, and was fortunate enough to have a cousin living in Australia. And so went and spent some time with her, and used that as an opportunity to kind of bounce around that country, just kind of like not doing the big tourist destinations, but going to little surf towns and sleepy little villages in the mountains and that kind of thing, and just meeting people from completely different walks of life, and being completely out of my comfort zone, around people I've never met, in a place I've never been, doing something I've never done. And while I was over there, it was like, oh, Bali's only a couple hours away. Well, yeah, I should go check that out. And so went and spent a little time over there, and it is a gorgeous country. It's a gorgeous little place, and it is the kind of place that just creates reflection and perspective and introspection and that kind of thing. And yeah, I was there 2 or 3 days, and it's like everything kind of came back into focus. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, no, okay, I'm starting to get it. Yeah,
I love that. It all sounds like that. Your journey kind of, and I can ask you about this because it's in your press release, so I'm sure it's not a secret, but you had a lot of personal health issues. You were in a crossroads, and you got really hurt, Steve.
Yeah. And it's one of those things that the universe will throw at you to make sure this is really what you want to do with your life. I mean, I was in a pretty successful band, for, by all accounts. And, we're starting to get some more progress, and as those things do. And right as we were about to release a big record and go on a big tour and do all the things, I got hit by a drunk driver, and was in the hospital for a week, and then laid up recovering. I broke my pelvis, my ribs, my nose, my leg, and ankle. Dislocated. I mean, it was they had to put Humpty Dumpty back together again. It took some practice, and it took a lot of like physical therapy and all that. And then you take 5-6 months off from the music industry, and it's like you never existed at all. And all the steam from internally and externally all kind of evaporates. And people decided they wanted to do different things with their lives, and so that became a bit of a crossroads, and had some tough choices to make about whether I was going to keep doing this, or if I was going to find another path and start over and do something different, or what was going to be my future. And I didn't want to make those decisions for the wrong reasons, and I didn't want to be somewhere and have my experience with that place kind of influence whether or not I decided, like, I was trying to decide if I wanted to leave New Orleans or not.
Right.
And I left. I went to Australia and Bali and all that, and I made it all of like 2 months. Like I left New Year's Day and was back by Mardi Gras.
Because home calls you. That's it. It's home. That's where you're supposed to be.
You know, there is something so special. I can't believe you've never been here, because it really is, in my estimation, one of the most special places in the country. And like, yeah, it's cool. It's an old city. It's been around for forever. There's architecture and music. But it's the people. You know, the people here really make this place as special as it is. And everyone here is very hospitable. They want to make sure that everyone is eating well and drinking well and having a good time and are in good spirits. But they're also going to keep it real with you. And if they think you're bullshitting, they'll let you know about it. And it's just a really great place, man.
Well, I love that. And my only thing is, if I come there, I got to come there when you got a gig, because I know you gig down there. I know you play in a lot of the famous historic clubs, and you have your own music scene that's down there. And the style of New Orleans music and the influence of New Orleans music is everywhere in music, all genres of music. So what is the style of this? You had a 3-track, like 3 tracks turned to 5, and now you have a full entire project. So what is the style on this?
You know, it's funny. I make a point to let people know that if they're expecting to hear a quote unquote New Orleans record, this probably isn't it. You know, when I think of New Orleans, I think of jazz, I think of funk, I think of the Meters, I think of the Mardi Gras Indians, the Wild Magnolias, the Wild Chapatulas, you know, that sort of thing. And having been in New Orleans for as long as I have, you know, I've seen, you know, unfortunately, I've seen a lot of people come down here and try to capitalize on the New Orleans sound. And, you know, we call them culture vultures. And, you know, now, to be clear, there are people doing it right and carrying on the tradition, and they're culture bearers. And this city supports and nurtures those very well. And that's super important. But there are people who come down and are in it for the wrong reasons and are inauthentic with their approach. And I've always wanted to make sure that I'm not one of those. And specifically with this project, the North Star on the whole thing, the guiding principle, was just that it had to be authentic and honest and me. And so it is very New Orleans in the sense that we're taking a little bit of this and a little bit of this and a little bit of that and throwing it all together and kind of creating, you know, hopefully something new and original. And it is a very collaborative record. I mean, this was a situation that really was just a bunch of different recording sessions of, hey, who's available today? All right, hey, you're around. Let's go in. And I've got this song. Let's kind of, and it's really been a process to kind of find my voice with the help of some of my friends. You know, I think that if I had to really define it, I would say that some people probably hear a little Americana in there. Some people maybe hear some vintage soul and like, you know, that sort of thing. So, and there's a healthy dose of, you know, 90s alternative, you know, in there too. I've always latched on to songwriters and people who can transport you to another time and place and make you have fun while you're doing it. Folks like Prince were some of my, earliest influences. And then, fellas like D'Angelo came along and changed everything. And, and then people like Tom Petty and Radiohead are also all like, but I also grew up on like Aretha and Stax and Motown and Muscle Shoals and grew up in Kentucky on things like bluegrass and like old school country music and have fallen in love with, early gospel music and like blues and just seeing how all of that kind of it's all coming from the same place. It's all coming from the soul. It's just how different people kind of interpret it. And so really this record is a collection of songs that are in a number of vibes. There's some stuff that kind of feels like it could be in like the 70s, like stadium rock scene. There's some stuff that feels like it's straight out of like MTV in like 1989.
I love it.
There's some stuff that feels like it's like a late 90s like rock kind of thing. The best I can say is it's just me, and it's a little piece of everything that I've brought along with me along the way.
Well, it sounds like our kind of thing, because we are here for the Motown to the Aretha to the Radiohead to the Prince. Yeah. I mean, you take all the things that you love and put them in a big giant blender, and then you make the art that moves you, and then I guarantee you it's going to move somebody else. While we're talking, you can follow Steve on Instagram for sure. You can go to his website, stevekelly.io. I think that's right.
That's correct. Yeah.
Woo! I did it. I get nervous. I get very nervous about these things.
Hey, man, no reason to be nervous around me. You're good.
Then the album, Here's the Thing, is now streaming, which everybody can get it. I love that art, and I love the cover. So what is a live show of Steve Kelly like? Like, if I see you at a club out in New Orleans, what am I going to get?
Man, you're going to have a good time. I have been really fortunate to be able to work with some of my absolute favorite musicians, and I'm proud and lucky to call them friends. And similarly to the album approach, sometimes I'll have drastically different lineups in my bands, and it'll be a different thing from night to night. And sometimes it's this guy and this guy and this guy from your favorite bands, and this guy and this guy, but overall it's just a good time. It's friendliness in the crowd and good vibes on stage, and hopefully, sending people home with something to think about and a little step, and give them something to dance for and, dance to. And
I love it. I love it. I love it. I can't wait to see it. So for us out here, and then you have a day job, Steve.
Well, I've got several
business jobs. Steve, you have a business.
I've got several day jobs. I mean, any musician, especially in New Orleans, is going to have a handful of side hustles. And I've got, I'm the talent buyer at a local music venue.
I'm hired.
Shows.
Thank you. I accept my contract.
Deal.
I'll send you my routing and checking account information.
Deal. Got you. I've got a freelance business that it's basically a digital Swiss Army knife for small businesses. So things like digital marketing or web design, graphic design, motion graphics, that sort of thing. I do a little bit of international logistics, courier work. I mean, it's really things come along, and I reached a point. Really, what happened was, for the longest time, I was your kind of like stereotypical musician of, if I do anything other than music, I'm not being true to my art form, and
I get it.
And that's such a crock of shit. And
I get it. I get it. I get it.
I just hit an age, and maybe it's a bit of an overcompensation now, but I hit a point where I decided that if there's anything that I'm like into and good at and would spend time doing, I should find a way to make money from it. And if I'm always pulling money in from all kinds of places and various, revenue streams, I don't have to derive all of my income from performing live. And what that does is it allows me the freedom to make the decisions creatively and for creative reasons rather than for financial. And it allows me to take a step back, and instead of having to play constantly, it allows me to be more selective with my performances and to make a bigger event out of each performance. And it's really worked for me. I like to joke that I'm never really working, but I'm also kind of always working, like I'll step outside. I was seeing some of the guys from Dumpster Funk were doing a pop-up show at the Maple Leaf here a couple nights ago, and I'm out having fun, and then I popped outside and took a 30-minute conference call, to handle some business that's just part of the deal.
You make it work. I hear you, because I used to feel that way too. If I did a talk show instead of sang, if I acted instead of sang, if I taught instead of was on the road, that I was not as a real artist like the other people that were. That's not true, people. I get to my money gets to make my art, and that's a beautiful thing.
and honestly, I learned it from other New Orleanians. I mean, you got some of the baddest, like Grammy award-winning artists working at like the Sewage and Water Board, or working, taxi drivers, or working as teachers. I mean, like the number of educators in this town who are brilliantly shaping the minds of tomorrow, and then they'll just go do a gig and they're the nastiest players on the scene. It's a very humbling and honest reminder not to take ourselves seriously or too seriously. I mean, and that anytime we get to create and perform and make this art that we love making, we're lucky. It's a good day.
Agreed. And that's why you need it at home, need to make sure that you stream the album. Here's the thing, which is available now. While your homework assignment, everybody, is to follow Steve over on Instagram. Tell him you saw him here and say hey. And then you can go to the website to stay up to date. If you're ever in New Orleans, you got to see Steve live, or wherever Steve's going to be around the country, wherever who knows where he's going to pop up with his ready to play something and do something. And we're gonna keep the music going and playing. I was really excited I can't wait to come to New Orleans, and I'm gonna hit you up. I already followed you on Instagram. I'm gonna send you a message and say, okay, I'm here. Tell me where I'm eating, tell me where I'm drinking, and tell me where I'm listening to some music.
I'll put you on something good, man. We'll have a blast.
That's it. All right, I'm in. Congratulations, and listen to the album. Thanks, everybody. Man. It's available now. You can listen to it. It's a blast. It's gonna be great. It's gonna help you get through your day, or a drive, or a gym class, whatever you're doing right now. You got to check out Steve Kelly and his work. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate you.
Appreciate you. Thank you.